ever since I could remember, it's always been my mom and my brother, me. And I remember maybe in 1978, I was about 8. Yeah, I was about 8. My brother was about 2. And it was always just us. And it was good times. But, I remember my mom decided to send me off to some relatives to just be with other kids. And she sent me to Canada. My aunt was there with, I had some cousins. Paulette, she's about 15, 16. And Patrick, Donovan, they were older cousins. And I was excited to go. I was going to go up to Canada and be with some kids closer to my age, but it was exciting. And so I remember around Halloween, the older kids had gone out trick-or-treating, and they brought back all of these bags of candy, these humongous bags of candy, and it was exciting because I remember them overturning the bags onto the table, and the table being full of all kinds of candies. And I remember my aunt, she went through the candy just to check it to make sure it was okay. And I remember once going out with Paulette to, I think it was her high school, where we sat on the lawn and we watched movies and eating taffies and just joyful times. It was really good times. And I remember in the house that we all lived in, or they lived in, there was a big basement, and we all decided once to go down and just play games. We were playing house. The older kids were like the mom, the pop, and we had little dishes to, make the meals, and we were making a lot of noise. And I remember my aunt coming in, and she was livid. We really destroyed the basement area, and we were loud, and she made us all stop playing, and we had to clean up. And I remember going into one of the rooms in the basement. I think one of my cousins said, go into the room, and I went into the room and to get something, and I remember one of my guy cousins coming in right behind me, and he shut the door. I didn't think anything of it. But I remember him, he grabbed me, and he threw me down with one hand, and he held my mouth shut, and with the other hand he began to pull down my underwear. And I'm 8 years old, and he was he was really big, and he was like a football player. And I remember just shivering and crying, and he said to me, you don't say anything or I will kill you. I will kill your mother and your brother. I don't remember much, but I do remember him, he urinated on me. And he grabbed some newspaper. He was very angry, and he grabbed this newspaper and he threw it at me. He said, clean yourself up. And I remember going up to have dinner that evening, and my aunt, she's just looking at me. What is the matter with you? What is the matter with you? She said, and I didn't say anything. I knew it was wrong. I just didn't say anything. And a couple of years later, like 11, and I again, my mom, my brother, myself, and she was always so busy, my mom working and doing whatever she did, and she sent me over to some relatives who lived nearby to watch over me while she worked. And I remember this house being very, very clean, so immaculately clean that the floors, they were hard wooden floors, and they were shiny. You could probably eat off of the floors, they were so clean. And I remember we'd put on socks and skate across the floors to have fun, and that was fun. And I remember, this is my aunt and my uncle here, and they were very strict. And 8 o'clock, we had to go to bed. And they had a daughter, my cousin. She was around 20 years old, and she had this really small bedroom. It's like a bread box. It's so small. And I remember she would, you know, at 8 o'clock we'd go to bed, and I shared the room with her when I'd stay over. And you know, I'd have to sleep in the bed with her, and I was always very close to the wall because it was such a small room. And she wore these really long, claw-like nails. And I remember her one night while we were in bed, she grabbed my face with her nails, and she put my face down underneath the blankets and the sheets under, and she began to moan. I didn't know what was going on, and I just began to cry. And then when she was done with me, she just kind of like pushed me over to the side. And I remember just being so close to the wall that I cried silently. I didn't want her to know that I was crying. I didn't want her family, her mother and father, to hear me cry. And I remember going forward, I just never wanted to go back to sleep there. I'd stay up beyond 8 o'clock. I'd be so sleepy, my eyes would be so tired, and I'd look up at the clock. It would be 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and I'm fighting my sleep because I didn't want anything to happen to me again. And I really don't know how many times it happened. I do remember that one time. And again, I didn't tell anyone. I knew it was wrong. And I just suppressed it. So at the age of around 13, I remember coming home from school one day, and I had on this red and white checkered dress. It was like a tablecloth. It always reminded me of a tablecloth, and I wore it to school. And I remember there were these two guys in the neighborhood, and one was closer to my age, and I remember going into my building and the door shutting behind me, and I'm running up the stairs to my apartment, but behind me I hear someone knocking on the door. And I turn, and I see it's the two guys, and you know, the good girl in me wants to open the door, and then, but something behind me said, don't open the door. I went to open the door, and the guys were like, he said, I need to go in, I need to see my uncle. And I opened the door, and I proceeded up the stairs, and the one closer to my age, I remember him like grabbing at me and said, let me see your panties. Let me see what kind of panties you have. Let me see your panties. And I'm just not going to let this happen again. I screamed. And he said, you bitch. And he ran. And I cried. cried, and I went home. I went into my apartment, and my mom was there, and she said, well, what's the matter? Why are you crying? And I said, I tripped. I tripped. I just didn't want to tell. So later that day, my mom needed some milk. She said, I need you to go to the store and get me some milk. Now, I'm not going to tell my mother no. I'm petrified. I know I'm petrified. I don't want to go back outside and see those guys. I knew they were out there. But, you know, something in me said, this is it. This is going to change my life. I'm not going to let anything happen to me again. But I was scared, and so I put on my coat, you know, and baggy clothes, and I made a dash across the street. And I got the milk, and I'm on my way back, and I see the guys. Again, I'm not going to let this happen to me again. This is going to stop. I am changing right now. I am fighting for me. So I decide right then and there, oh God, help me. I put my hood on, and I put my coat on, and I'm going to bop, because what we did back then is the guys would bop. I would observe neighborhood guys, and I'd see they bop. That was the swagger then. They bop. So I put my hood on, had my baggy clothes on, my coat. I'm going to get by these guys. So I put my head down, and I bop across the street. And I bop. They didn't even notice me. I made it. They didn't even know it was me. I knew right then and there I was going to be better. I was going to be all right. I'm better.